Warning: the following video features gameplay performed by a non-professional, nor under the supervision of professionals. Accordingly, OnRPG and the rest of the team must insist that no one attempt to recreate to learn any techniques of beginner gameplay performed during this video.
What's up guys, this is JamesBl0nde with OnRPG, and this time I had a chance to get into the closed beta of Smite, a game that turned a lot of heads at this year's PAX. Yeah, I know it's been in beta for a little while now, but during beta it's had a good amount of rework. It's a game from Hi-Rez Studios, the same developers who brought us Tribes Ascend, and you can definitely tell as it nearly has the same interface, all the way down to the characters battling out on the screen behind. Alright, so this game is a MOBA set in a third person's perspective, and as a MOBA it really takes a lot of good things from League of Legends. The game features a 3-laned map with towers and minions, and it also uses similar character stats, so if you're a League player you may already be familiar with how the champion, or in this game, gods, feel. Another thing that makes it unique, and I have to say that this is one of my favorite aspects, is that what you already know as a Nexus in League of Legends takes the form as a Guardian in this game. And what's cool about that is it has AI and it will kick your ass if you don't have the right forces up against it. After you defeat the towers in any of the lanes, you approach the Phoenix, which is a lot like the inhibitor in League of Legends. It's right before the Guardian. The Phoenix will actually heal itself for a short while if it's not under attack.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy Phoenix.
Besides the MOBA attributes, the game has a lot of other elements that might appeal to, say, a third-person shooter fan or MMO fans, in that the champion's attacks and skills have to be aimed manually. Most of the skills have an AoE indicator that shows as the skill is selected, like an RTS or League for that matter. Now, because the game is from a third-person standpoint, it wouldn't make sense to have the fog of war, but on the other hand, now, unlike most MOBAs, you do have to watch behind you as other champions have a better chance at ganking due to the change in the isometric view from a traditional MOBA, where you can always see what's going on around you even though it may only be a short distance. Smite is a game that provides an easy learning curve for new players, or new players to the genre. The game has many different elements that you can find in League of Legends, however they are simplified and may not be as appealing to players that are veterans to MOBAs. For example, Smite has an auto-leveling and auto-itemization system that keeps track of your build and levels your skills in a way that is supposedly ideal for your champion. And although this is a feature you can enable or disable before the match starts, you can only disable it after playing a set number of matches, becoming higher than a level 6 ranking. I don't quite understand why the game forces you to run on autopilot. You would think it's something you can turn on if you're new to the game and off if you aren't. Why you have to rise to a certain level? I'm not sure. Another thing that may be targeting newer players is the build itself. Unlike League or other MOBAs where you buy smaller items with individual stats themselves and bundle these items to create an even greater item for your build that gives you crazy bonuses, Smite has a tier system with its itemization that once you buy the first tier of an item, you're required to buy the other 2 tiers of that item to really reap the benefits bonus-wise. Of the items in the shop, there are additional abilities that can be purchased for really a small amount of gold that are typical of what you may know as the summoner spells in League of Legends. These abilities include things like sprint or other magic damage buffs that can really be handy to add to your inventory. For example, it seems if you add sprint to Ymir or Zeus, they become way OP. The crazy thing is none of these abilities are included in the auto-itemization builds, and you have to find them in the store yourself, and you can't purchase them or anything else unless you turn off auto-purchase. The controls in this game are set up nicely using WASD to move, 1 through 4 for skills, C for items, B for base return, and the mouse was used for view and auto attack. There are about 11 gods to choose from, and I started playing the game as Artemis, which is a ranged AD god. The auto attack for Artemis felt like a typical archer archetype in any MMORPG, or even a low-level archer in a 3D dungeon crawler game like C9. And for League of Legends players, she reminded me of a mix of Ashe and Caitlyn. Artemis has mid-level defense and is pretty quick on her feet. She's equipped with skills like an arrow volley that deals physical damage and slows, vengeful assault that allows her to fire arrows with extremely high attack speed, and like Caitlyn from League of Legends, Artemis can place traps that can act as wards and catch that potential gank from behind. And when I saw her ulti, I laughed. And basically she summons Pumbaa to track down the nearest enemy to hold them down, mauling them, while you get to continue to open fire. As far as the rest of the gods, I'll give you an idea of what some of the other ones are like. Ymir, the father of the Frost Giants, is a tanky champion that has a melee auto attack and also has spells based off of magic. Ymir's first leveled skill is Glacial Strike. This does magic damage as well as slows all enemies in the area in front of him. Frost Breath is a second skill level, and it's essentially just a quick stun. And this makes sense, however, because if I saw somebody blowing Frost Breath, like some sort of chewing gum commercial, I would be stunned as well. Ymir's Ice Wall is a really cool skill that can either keep enemies from getting away, or good for allowing you to keep some distance between enemies posing a threat. Finally, with Ymir's ultimate, Shards of Ice, Ymir freezes the air around him, causing shards of ice to form, and then he erupts, firing the shards into enemies around him, doing massive damage. With the exception of Ice Wall, each one of Ymir's skills applies his passive, which is called Frostbite. This is a debuff that allows 50% more damage on his melee attacks to those afflicted. Anubis, god of the dead in Egyptian mythology, is a ranged mage using heavy magic for abilities. Anubis uses grasping hands and calls for help from the underworld as hands penetrate the ground and claw at his enemies. This spell is fairly powerful and also slows enemies, and is the most devastating when chained with Plague of Locusts, which deals a lot of damage by itself. Anubis also has a skill that mummifies, snaring the target for a few seconds, which is great to begin with to chain his abilities. Plus, with Anubis' passive, all of his abilities reduce the enemy's magical protection, helping him deal the damage. The only problem with Anubis is he has a really weak defense, so it makes him a little tricky to use, so plan on dying often until you get used to him, because if he gets caught by someone like Ymir, he's toast. In general, all the god skills are set up to work in combination really well, like you see in League of Legends. All in all, the game is really fun to play with friends. Only as of recently are you able to play together if your friends are not the same level as you are. But nevertheless, the game is a great baby's first MOBA, as well as a good transition from the isometric view to a third-person view, whereas some games haven't quite achieved that result. And as we've seen from Hi-Rez so far with Tribes, there was a lot of changes and reworking of the game way before it was released, and as of right now, Smite has a hold on good ideas. The game is in beta right now, and there are a lot of keys floating around OnRPG, so you might be able to catch one and try it out for yourself. And with that said, thanks for watching. If you're looking for more detailed information about Smite, check the description below for Jason Harper's Impressions article. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button. I'm JamesBl0nde. See you out there, gamers.